the Young Guns Network started 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even now, as a networking group for, broadly speaking, under 35s to just get together, learn, co-create, just learn from one another and push their careers forward.
Live coding comes from about 30 years ago from universities in England. So these are composers like me who trained in a Western classical tradition. But then they started using computers to create music.
Okay, so Madeon was a French DJ. He made a name for himself on YouTube by using a launchpad and combining loads of tracks together. And what we did was we created an online version of it with him where it can make it feel like you're DJing or at least producing without actually having any form of rhythm, because it will all time it all for you. But it was to promote his album, and it's now had the 90 million samples have been played on it, and it's got an average dwell time of 30 minutes, so people are playing around with it a lot. We launched it 2 years ago. Bearing in mind this is a marketing campaign for an album 2 years ago, I checked earlier, and there was actually 45 people playing with it when I checked, which is pretty interesting for me anyway. I mean, people loved it, and people love playing with it, and it makes them feel like they are making music. Although we've done loads of stuff in the music space, very rarely does the artist get involved, which is a huge shame.
It's really interesting from sort of my point of view and a Kobalt point of view of like, right, we're getting to this point now with technology where it's how people are listening to music now is through technology. It's, you know, in the sort of iTunes and downloads area, and obviously with CDs before, it was kind of still a very like, you know, you bought it and then that was it, and there was no kind of ongoing sort of interaction between the artist or label and the fan. Whereas now, as streaming becomes more and more important and more widespread, well, that's different. It's like it's happening all the time, and you can still have that kind of conversation. And so that's where we've in particular been focusing on a lot of things.
Digital music and streaming is soon to become the primary way of fans and artists or fans consuming the music. How do we take more control of that? How do we turn that experience from a passive experience to a more active experience? Going to a record store, buying a piece of vinyl is an active experience. You're going out to the record store, you're searching out for it, you're bringing it home, you're unwrapping it. What is the equivalent in streaming? Do we want to be in a situation in the future where just all the world's music is on a platform for anyone to listen to whenever they want? Like, how do we build artist brands? How do we build a deeper connection between the artist and the fan on these streaming services? And how do we create this a more active, engaging digital experience? And I think the answer is code moving forward.
A bot is not AI. A bot does not replace your artist. A bot does not save the world. So with Axwell and Grosso, they are using Messenger as purely a distribution platform.
Yes, it can be expensive, but then everyone's used to making music videos, and they're expensive too. It's like if there's a kind of entrenched value that people see in music videos, and actually I think it's exactly the same with tech, and it's actually really comparable because it's a creative things that can expose your music to a wider audience. And I think that's what all of these kind of tech ideas that we're talking about can do as well.
Coding's being taught from the age of 11 in schools. So in a decade's time, the kids coming out of schools, coding is going to be just the language, another language of technology and business. You know, this is going to be a tool that we can use for all sorts of things.
Developers, I could completely quit what I'm doing now and go and earn 5 times as amount that I currently earn working at a bank, working at Facebook, working at any of these massive tech companies that earn a fortune. Remember that we do it because we love it and we want to continue enjoying it. Most people get into coding because it's a hobby of some description. Then you realize that you can make money out of it. Then it's no longer a hobby. Computing at school in the UK is part of the business studies. If it was part of the art studies, it would be very different. And actually, I believe it should be. So I believe that you can create digital art much more easily than you can create pure business, boring technology.
Now, I don't think the album, the finished album, is ever going to go away, because I think that suits a certain type of artist. But also, I think you can really see how single tracks are becoming much more prominent, and the kind of album is part of that, but it's just one bit of the whole sort of artist journey around that sort of cycle.
We have an artist at Colombia as well who's just created an album that plays in a complete loop. So it actually, as it ends, it starts, if you see what I mean. So the idea being that at any point during that album, you could dip into it and it would make artistic sense. It could play for literally forever, and it would work. So obviously we're now working with them to find out a creative way of realizing that in a digital way, so fans can come and experience it the way that they would want that to happen. And maybe it's just a situation where it plays all the time, and people, you almost log on to the album rather than press play at the start and listen to it from the start to the finish.
One thing is about the reproduction of the music and how the audience can access the music in new ways, but also how the musician can have a new relationship with the computer. We have computers in our bags, which are amazing electronic studios in our bags, yes, in our phones. So why do we have to keep on repeating the same structures of albums or side A, side B, whatever, when we can create music that can even sound completely different every time we play it? We have the capacities of computation, and we can create generative music that changes every time. And we can, as live coders, what I do, we improvise with this. We are improvising with generative music. So this opens a huge horizon, and I think new generations will take into this, especially because young people are learning to program so young, so from the beginning. So I don't know how it's going to be the future economically, but I think at least what live coding brings is the capacity to look for new ways.
Yeah. I think